Morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, September 26, 2024. We're gathered here today for a work session agenda, and if we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Terry, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, we have two items on for open session today. Matters surrounding the 2025 tentative budget. And we have a second matter on matters surrounding Elite Tower's installation of the cell tower at the Wading River Fire Department headquarters. And Matt Charters will be leading the town with us on that. All right, so we had a town board special meeting, special session a short time ago, and I presented the board members with the 2025 tentative budget. So they now have that in their possession. It is posted online, and I'm going to start out by reading the memo that I have included in all of the tentative budgets. And it says, "Dear Town Clerk and fellow town board members, as Supervisor and Chief Financial Officer of the Town of Riverhead, and in accordance with Section 106 of New York State Town Law, I am pleased to present for your consideration the Town of Riverhead 2025 tentative budget. I believe my single biggest responsibility to the residents of Riverhead is the formulation of the annual budget. I collaborated with department heads, elected officials, and senior staff over every line and meticulously weighed and considered every decision. And I will say that with the department heads, when we first started the budget process, I informed them that this was going to be a really, really tough year, and I asked them to please not give me outrageous requests because all it was going to do was lengthen the time that it would take to do the budget, because they would have been sent back right away and removing a lot of those items. I commend my department heads because I think they did a fantastic job. And what they presented was a basic no frills budget, albeit we still had to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we did get the red pen out, and we still made some cuts. But I appreciate the fact that they didn't give us an inflated budget for each of their departments. They did a very good job with that, so I want to thank them. Okay, just as the price of a box of cereal or a stick of butter have increased, so too have the costs to run the town. The townwide 2025 budget is 4.14% over the tax cap, due in large part to increases to insurance premiums and retirement systems contributions. In fact, several surrounding municipalities will find the need to also pierce the tax cap for 2025. Riverhead also has contractual obligations, faces the need to replace old vehicles, and must perform required maintenance and improvements to aging infrastructure and related equipment. And I will say that in years past, it's always great to put up a budget with no tax increase, but you're going to pay for it somewhere, and unfortunately that was done maybe one or two too many times, and now we're paying the price for it now. The can was kicked down the road, and now we're at the end of the road, so we got to start replacing things. All taxing districts are budgeted within the tax cap limit, with the exception of the general fund. As an example of how this will impact a resident, the townwide tax increase for a property valued at approximately $720,000 is about 80 cents per day, or $288 per year. The cost for removal of residential solid waste distributed throughout the garbage district will increase approximately 18 cents per day, or $5.25 per month. The total appropriations for the town operating fund in 2025 are $109,519,600. That's an increase of $5,893,300 over last year, 2024. The appropriations of school and town taxes are approximately 55.31% for the school and library and 26.04% for the town. The other 18.65% is attributed to the various special taxing districts, example, fire and ambulance. Notwithstanding rising costs, I refuse to cut corners on public safety. At 48%, the Riverhead Police Department consumes the largest portion of the tentative general fund budget, which includes funding for contractual salary increases for our younger force, implementation of body camera technology, 5 new vehicles, and new radio equipment needed to maintain compatibility and communication with Suffolk County. Every time Suffolk County changes their radio systems, our ambulance, our fire departments, and our police departments have to change their radio systems in order to be able to be in contact with them. The tentative 2025 budget does not cut any services or programs, provides funds for the most critical town projects, and supports staffing to operate the services important to the community and vital to town operations. 3 new positions will be added in 2025. 1 in information technology, 1 in the community development department, and 1 in the planning department. This proposed budget provides salary increases for existing positions which are necessary to attract and retain qualified employees. We simply cannot afford to lose talented workers. From the beginning of 2024 to date, of the 172 full-time positions, not including the police department, approximately 30 employees resigned or retired, several citing salary as the reason for leaving. Additionally, department heads have repeatedly reported difficulty in attracting qualified candidates. It is my hope that salary increases, which make up only 7% of the total increase required by this proposed budget, will assist in attracting qualified workers, maintaining continuity, and mitigate attrition. I want to thank our financial administrator and town budget officer for their assistance during this budget process, along with the town board members. It is my belief this budget best provides financial stability for the town of Riverhead going forward, enhances public safety, and will afford residents the quality of life they deserve. So that's the opening memo to the budget. What we're going to do now is we have a PowerPoint presentation. I would ask Jeanette DIPAOLA to come up, and we'll go over the numbers in the budget during this presentation.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Okay, so what we'll include in the presentation is the first page is basically just a summary of the supervisor's message to the budget, and then we'll get a little bit more into detail in the next few slides. But basically, to start it off, all taxing districts, except for the general fund, were budgeted within the tax cap limit. So just the general fund is the only one that exceeded the tax cap this year. The 2025 tentative budget exceeds the 2024 adopted budget by $4.1 million. The townwide 2025 tentative budget is 4.14% over the tax cap. Basically, as the supervisor mentioned, the increase for a property valued at approximately $720,000 would amount to about 80 cents per day. Residential waste will increase less than $5.25 per month, or 18 cents per day. Total appropriations for the town operating fund increased $5.9 million roughly over last year. And that just summarizes the supervisor's memo. If you go to the next screen, so as I said, the general fund budget is $4.1 million over last year's budget. So we're focusing on the general fund so we can explain what that increase is. Basically, it's made up of salaries for PD, New York State retirement. The rates increase on every tier this year, most notably police. They went up 4 percentage points this year, which is common over the last couple of years. They're going up a lot. So that's kind of out of our control. Health insurance also increased. We had roughly a 14% increase in 2024. And now for 2025, we're proposing a 9% increase. and hopefully that's enough. But the health insurance rates are going up drastically as well. We have an increase in debt service. We have a principal payment that we have to make on this building starting next year, and that's what the increase is related to for that. New vehicles. We have a few in police, and we have some in B&G, or buildings and grounds, and fire marshal. Then we have salaries, non-police department related. New radios, and then a slight increase in general liability and property insurance.
Some of the new radios that refer to like RVACs? Or just
And
Similar, it's PD, police department, fire marshal, and code all need new
Right.
radios next year.
County changes their setup, and as you know,
Yeah.
to the fire departments and the ambulance, then you have to change yours to
Yeah.
be in contact with them.
Yeah, they changed the bandwidth, I guess, so in order to communicate with them. RVAC is getting theirs this year, though, I believe, with their
Yes,
fund
with this
balance
year's
they
fund
just did.
balance,
So
correct.
this is really just for police department, code enforcement, and fire marshal.
And just so the public's aware, these increases with the retirement and the health plans, that's from the state.
Yes. Yeah, our health insurance is NISHIP. We have a small plan also, I believe it's with Emblem, and they're projected already at 9%. We can only provide the best guess, but I looked to personnel for that, and they're saying you have to budget at least 9% this year. So that's what we're doing. And the retirement rates, that's New York State as well. They send out the projected rates pretty far along into the budget process, so that was a last minute change, so we had to increase that basically just about a week and a half ago when the
Right.
rates get released, so, but they are going up every year as well.
Jeanette, I have a question. The property insurance, what was the increase on that?
Property insurance was a 10% increase, and then the general liability was a 5% increase. So we looked to our third-party insurance broker for those increases, so she provided us with those estimates. Okay, so let's go into a little more detail in the general fund. What we did on this slide is basically just break out police department versus non-police, because the police department is such a big part of our budget. For the police department, 1.4 million in salaries, contractual salaries, and related payroll taxes is part of our increase. 400,000 for the New York State retirement rates. Again, their rates went up about 4 percentage points from last year to this year. $250,000 would be related to police department health insurance, and again, we're estimating the increase to be 9%. We increased for 5 new vehicles, so they already had a little bit of a budget last year for vehicles, and we're just increasing at $175,000 for 5 new vehicles needed. And then $150,000 for the new radios due to the new bandwidth set by Suffolk County. For non-police, we have a $400,000 increase for salaries and related payroll taxes. $400,000 would be for debt service. $350,000 for health insurance. Again, the rate increase up to 9%.
Can you just explain to the public debt service?
So debt service is basically our principal and interest payments that we have to make on our debt each year. Each year we have a debt database that we budget based on, and we can predict out or forecast out what our payments are going to be for the following year. So the increase here is basically related to a principal payment that we have to start making on our $20 million bond anticipated note for this building. It's actually more than that, but we had a bit of an increase in last year's budget because we anticipated bonding improvements for $1.5 million on this building, and we didn't have to. We had some excess fund balance last year, or in 2023, so we ended up paying the $1.5 million in improvements off, so we didn't have to bond that. So otherwise, the increase would have been larger than that, so that was a good thing. We have $225,000 of an increase for new vehicles, which is fire marshal and buildings and grounds. And then the New York State retirement rates again, every tier increased, not as much as police department, but that's an overall increase of $200,000 for non-police. And then insurance premiums on general liability and property insurance were $100,000. And then the new radios for code enforcement and fire marshal is $50,000. And just to break down the salaries and related payroll taxes a little further for everybody, so 1.4 million is directly related to police department increases. 439,700 are contractual increases for non-police. Merit increases for non-police is 275,400. Again, the supervisor mentioned it's 7% of the overall increase year over year. 203,500, 3 additional town hall positions. We reduced the severance budget by 280,000. We're not really expecting as many people to retire this year. It's sometimes an unknown, but we feel confident that reducing that was good. And we also reduced 3 positions for 222,000. So basically, the 3 that we added kind of offsets with the 3 that we reduced by. And the last slide is really just giving you an estimate of the appropriations of school and town taxes for the coming year. We don't really know this exactly yet. It's an estimate based on, I basically estimated a 2% increase for all the other districts that we don't have yet, which are the schools and the libraries and the fire districts and Suffolk County. They could go up more than 2%, they probably will. So this is a very conservative estimate to say that the school and library are really about 55.3% of the overall tax levy that the residents pay. And then
residents need to understand, we have to base it on a rate increase of 2%, or we base it on 2% because their budget, their calendar year is different than ours, and we won't have that information in order to present our budget according to law. We won't have that information to do it. So.
Yeah, I don't see their budgets yet. So, and we don't prepare the tax levy until November.
Right.
So this is all estimated, but it's not going to change all that much. It's a fairly good estimate. If anything, it's a little more conservative. So if anything, school and library will probably go up some, and then our percentage will go down. But that's just to point out really to the taxpayers how much a percentage of your taxes really go to school and library versus all the other districts, including the town. And that pretty much sums up the tentative budget. Does anybody have any questions?
It's hard to have questions because it just got it just now.
I know.
But what we can do, we certainly can put this up for discussion again down the road once you guys have had time to digest this. But I'm sure, having you work as the liaisons with your departments had to help you have a better, I wish I had that in my 8 years here as a councilman, because that helps you understand the budget a lot more for sure, and it gives you an active part in it, so.
I would just say, Supervisor, just to reiterate things you've mentioned, that Councilman Kern and I are on the Personnel Committee. It is very difficult to get people to come to the town because the salaries are not competitive with other towns and other jobs. So it is very difficult, and we're constantly going through lists to get people to come on board out here.
And how many interviews do you have set up and people don't even show up?
That's right, that's right.
They're like, nah, I can't. It's too much of a cut and pay for me.
And in terms of with the refuse, I know we took the lowest contract. We're no longer staying with the group we had previously.
Right.
We're going with the lowest, best contract. So I know there's efforts there to save costs.
Absolutely.
Supervisor, I appreciated the opportunity to be able to work on the budget with you and Jeanette, Brittany. I know how much you guys put into this, and thank you for all of your hard work. And thank you, Supervisor, for everything that you did with this budget. I was able to see how you were trying your best to put a budget together that we know that people are going to be upset that we had to pierce the cap, but across the board, across the nation, we have inflation, and it's more expensive to live today. And, you have a town that needs more police officers and more police cars and all of our vehicles that need gas, and gas is more expensive. Things are on the rise, and this eventually had to come. Like you said, we've been kicking the can down the road, and that's the truth.
ABC News had a segment on this morning about the cost of food, and they said the average American is paying 7% more this year for food than they were last year. So that's, I don't mean to compare it to our budget by any means, but that number makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's right to compare it because that's why it's hard to retain people
Right.
at the salaries that we're doing, and we've got to have some parity with other towns. And I really appreciate that, what you said about the department heads, because you were very clear from the beginning, hey, don't come at us with all these, big raises.
Right.
Because it's not, it's not going to happen, and it can't happen. The town is faced with the inflation that you're talking about, and people, things got to change, especially in New York. The rates are going through the roof.
The insurances and
Yeah.
health insurances and regular insurance is incredible. It's amazing. And everybody has to, bite the bullet on it. You have no choice.
And Denise and I get a little bit of a break instead of, with all these interviews. It's amazing. I mean, the turnover rate
Yeah.
was getting insane. So,
Or the number of people that we hire, we train,
yeah,
and then they leave to go to
Right.
another agency,
yeah,
similar, but pays better.
yep.
And it's, we've wasted not only time and money,
Right.
we have to then go out and try to find somebody to hire again. So we've got to be more compatible to the surrounding area, without a doubt.
One of the questions I have in terms of the overall personnel here in Town Hall, can we get a listing of like how the funds are being allocated? So each department basically puts up a percentage or an overall cost for personnel, increase in wages in their department. But it's been clear in years past that those promises weren't always kept or not allocated the way the town board thought they were being allocated. So I want to make sure that the head of each department, if they say I'm giving each these particular salaries to these particular individuals, I don't want after the budget to find out that they've changed that format.
No,
So
we met with all the department
Yeah.
heads and closed the loop. I think you missed because you were on vacation, but I can certainly give you a list of all of the approved merit increases if you want to see those by individual.
I just
have
want to
that
make sure, because in
information.
years past, people would promise things, and they did not receive
Yep,
them.
you're
And I want to make
absolutely
sure that
correct.
we are keeping our
Yes.
word, so
Yep.
if it's allocated a certain way, then that's the way it will be distributed to
Yes.
the employees.
I have a detailed list, so once the budget is adopted, it will go right to personnel to get the resolutions ready for the new year, that kind of thing.
And in the budget, the other question I would ask is if we can see towards what kind of increase in tax base, like how we're doing in terms of projects overall going through the planning department and the building department and coming to fruition, how does it change our tax base? Like, so each year, can we measure ourselves? So are we in fact increasing tax, growth in the town or not? Or
So
comparing.
like building
from-
inspection fees, that kind of
No,
stuff?
more or less like property taxes, so if
Oh,
a
okay.
project is approved, by the planning department, it comes to fruition and the tax roll changes,
Okay.
are we growing? So with projects flowing through the planning department, how are we growing in terms of our tax
Okay.
base compared to previous years?
Right.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, we should really be looking at this, bi-monthly, what projects are getting, being reviewed and getting out. So we can start to, look at the timelines of things and figure out how we could maybe, do better in each department to move these projects forward. We need to capitalize on the land that we have that people are looking to build on, and that's tax revenue, which, helps the taxpayers, period.
That's
When-
basically the only relief.
It's absolutely the
It's-
only relief.
When we discuss the comp plan and we reduce FAR ratios and build outs and preserve land and things like that, all positive things, but we've got to know that we're getting projects through the planning department that are increasing the overall tax base. I'd really like to see, I'd like to be able to watch that number,
So,
to see what it was last year, what it was, this year, and
Okay.
how we can do some type of projections.
yeah, I mean, I could basically compare the assessed values from last year to this year by property, maybe somehow. I can work with the assessors on that, and then get the information from building and planning on what properties have you, I need the tax map probably numbers in order to do that from them.
Yeah. It's just the only way that I see that we can, change the pattern of a continuous tax increase is by getting projects through, developed, and getting them on the tax rolls. We're waiting on the dream is EPCAL, but litigation, 3-5 years, we say, right? But what are we doing in terms of a smaller level to at least make, steps to getting, projects through the planning department?
And I know we're waiting on EPCAL, but it's, we have, what, Matt, 400 acres outside of EPCAL industrial, something right around there. You know, that's, you know, so when we put moratoriums, we've got to be really careful on what we're doing, because we're stopping the clock. That affects taxpayers, you know, in general, so.
And that's the exact point, Councilman, is that like how are we doing on industrial area? So when people are proposing ideas and projects, are they in fact moving through? And are we getting them on the tax rolls?
Okay.
More probably a planning department question, but just trying to see
Yeah,
that
it is,
that's
it
the only
is,
thing that
but-
can soften these numbers.
Right, right.
It's got to be a balance.
And
So-
with the comp plan being completed now and the moratorium being lifted in the industrial areas in Calverton, you're gonna start to see some movement, I'm sure. And people have been waiting, and some people, and Bob, I know you've mentioned some people have walked away and said, I can't wait, I gotta go somewhere else. But I think we still did the right thing by waiting for the comp plan to be done, addressing the Calverton and Baiting Hollow area, the industrial areas, and now we're ready to move forward, so.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as we look at that code, we should be in a position to start expediting projects so that it doesn't take, you know, I know I'm criticized for the guy that wants, you know, the shovel in the ground. I do want it in the ground, but I don't want it in 6 years, I don't want it in 4 years, you know, more like 2 years, because that affects the tax revenue 3 years from now, not 1 year or 2 years. So we have to be cognizant of that, you know, that when we're doing all this. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, well, happy reading, and we will, thank you, Jeanette,
Thank you.
great job.
Thank
We will have future discussion on this if need be, and at a work session, and we'll take it from there. Okay, next up, we have matters surrounding Elite Towers installation of the cell tower at Wading River Fire Department headquarters. Matt Carter's, come on up.
Hello.
And anybody that's here for it, come on up.
Yes.
Wow,
Greg Alvarez.
you
is
got a lot of company
Yeah,
today,
a
Matt.
lot of.
I'm gonna sit down here in case like questions.
Yeah.
No seats? Yeah, you could.
Yeah, this is fine. That's good. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good?
Swell.
Okay, good.
I'm so glad this is happening, you have no idea.
Yeah, so
great.
I distributed staff report to everybody on the 19th, pretty lengthy. I'll summarize today, just so we understand what's happening here. This is for a cell tower at the Wading River Fire District headquarters. That's at 1503 North Country Road in Wading River. So what they're proposing is a 190-foot concealment pole, which I think IT should have a plan that they can show up so everyone can
Page 7
see what it looks like.
of
It's-
that.
Do the fire commissioner want to join us? Or?
Well, if it comes to, we're here.
Just shout out.
Yeah, so 190-foot concealment pole. What a concealment pole is, that means all the antennas are inside, so you're not seeing the antennas hanging on the outside. What you do see are a couple whip antennas, so those are the fire district communication antennas at the top. So the overall height above 190 of the tower is 213, and then there's another set of antennas as you come down. So 4 antennas at 75 feet, 3 antennas at 95, and then Verizon Wireless is going to be at the center line at 185. So just so we know what's surrounding the area, you got the fire district building, obviously, Wading River Congregational Church, St. John's the Baptist Roman Catholic Church is in the area, and then the Riverhead Town Line is sort of just a couple properties behind us with the border with Brookhaven.
Now, we need to elaborate, can you hear you?
Yeah, you Matt? Yeah.
Yes,
You go.
it's my mumbly voice. How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
He's gonna back away as the
Yeah.
guys watch. No, he does it all the time.
So page 2, just an aerial photograph and a street view of the fire district. Obviously, we have a very hefty plan set that the board got, as well as a planning study done by VHB, which kind of outlines the whole thing. In terms of secret, this is a type 1 action pursuant to our town code, so that's a mandatory 30-day coordination period. Involved agencies in this case would be the Planning Commission, State Office of Historic and Preservation, and DEC, and then interested agencies would be the Town of Brookhaven and Wading River Civic Association. Moving this forward, we'll have a resolution to classify the action pursuant to SECRA and then start that lead agency coordination so we can start the clock on this because you have to do that 30 days. And then in terms of zoning, If the board's not already aware, wireless communications towers and antennas are not specially permitted accessory uses within the RP80 zoning district. The applicant has included an analysis within the application requesting limited government immunity from zoning, subject to the Monroe balancing test, which I'll go through in a minute. In terms of the application itself, what we asked for is a complete application, what would be required if it was allowed by code. So they've given us all the plans, all the studies that we would normally ask for. In terms of the things that it doesn't comply with, just within terms of setbacks, it doesn't meet the 100% setback for the tower height pursuant to code. It doesn't meet the separation distance between towers, which is 25,000 linear feet, and then it doesn't have a 8-foot security fence around the base. So just to understand the Monroe balancing test a little bit more, there is a nice it's called a legal memorandum, LU 14, governmental immunity from zoning. So that's from the New York State Department of State. It was last updated in 2020. Limited government immunity may apply to the subject application if found appropriate by the town board. So we would have a public hearing to do what's called the Monroe balancing test. We'd have testimony from the applicant. The applicant would go through what are those following 9 criteria. And then we'd hear testimony from the public, and then the town board would need to decide by resolution to what extent this application could be immune from the zoning requirements of the town. Moving on.
Just in terms of commenting on some of those things,
Yeah.
though, people that might not be familiar with the area, if you're on the Jamesport side of town and so forth, tower needs to be closer perhaps to other towers simply due to the terrain.
Correct.
So
It's a
Wading
hole,
River
yeah.
is in a hole down at the bottom, okay? And in terms of the setback and the fencing and so forth, this is really a protected space. It is directly behind the firehouse. It's really only accessed by fire department members, and really, quite frankly, you'd have to jump up over a wall to get to it anyway. So it's a very protected area. So this is not about a cell tower that is in an open field and accessible by kids. I think that entire area is monitored by video as well. So problems and so forth can be quickly addressed, by security means. So I think that when we're concerned about some of those variances, so to speak, I really think if you're familiar with the lay of the land, you'll find that it's really not that concerning.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of the test, too.
Matt, while you're on the zoning part, it's town
Yeah.
zoning, I mean, to me, this is, an emergency. So these are people that are dealing with emergencies. So I've been inside that firehouse, I couldn't use my cell
Yeah,
phone.
use your cell
phone.
So if there are firemen inside that firehouse and somebody's trying to reach them or they're trying to reach out, they can't. You get an SOS.
Yeah, so it's not even just, not to interrupt you, Bob, it's not
Yeah.
even just cell service, the radio service is poor too. So once we go through
And that's the focus of this.
Yeah,
But should we be changing the zoning and,
it's something to consider by the
Yeah.
town board. The Monroe balancing test, the beauty of that, like there's special cases like this where it would be appropriate to consider just for the public safety factor and the real need to, find something immune from zoning. So
Yeah, so if I could explain
Yeah.
the Monroe balancing test. So certain government acts are immune from zoning.
Yeah.
So we recognize that there is immunity that they're looking for from the zoning regulations. And the way that this is determined is by the town board to figure out if they're going to be exempt from the local zoning regulations by balancing of public interests. So there's 9 factors. They come from the matter of County of Monroe versus City of Rochester. That's where they first determined the factors. There are 9 factors, and they go through, which I'm sure Matt will speak about shortly. But they go through consideration of all of the topics that you're bringing up, public safety and topics like that. That's what you'll be hearing about during the public hearing. If you choose to have a public hearing on this topic, the applicants will talk about all the ways that they meet the Monroe balancing test, and then you'll issue a written decision after that, determining if they met those factors, which would exempt them from the local zoning regulations that are in place right now.
or to the extent you want them to be exempt.
I can
Yeah.
just speak of one example I know personally. If you're in the Wading River Roman Catholic Church,
Yeah.
you don't have cell service.
Yeah.
And there was an incident, I was attending Mass and somebody had a heart issue. And you couldn't contact, the fire department is right down the road, literally right down the
across the
road.
street,
And they had difficulty getting everyone there to help. They did eventually get the individual treatment, but literally just run down from the church to the fire department. That's what somebody would have had to do, as opposed to get on a phone to contact and get help. It's absolutely needed in that area. Absolutely.
Matt, this is one of the concerns with cell towers are the collapse zone.
Correct.
And from what I understand, a lot of the towers now they come down.
So
They
the,
don't, it's not a fall over
So this
like
is
we
a-
used to look
yeah.
at an area around the length of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are much safer. It should have, and it almost, I'm sure it has happened somewhere, but it's rare that it would even happen to begin with.
very rare, and this tower is designed to fall, I believe it's at 65 feet below the top.
Yes.
So the top, if it was under such stress that it would need to collapse, the top half would fall off, which would fully meet that 100%.
Right.
So it's a breakaway, so like
Yeah.
if we did get a major hurricane in the area, it's gonna separate based on, the top portion may break away first, then the secondary portion, you're not gonna get a full tower that's gonna come down. So
Correct.
when there are, concerns by residents that have expressed, the Wading River Congregational Church is very close, but the way it is designed, it cannot fall, on an intact pattern and land or and reach somebody else's property, because the top is gonna break away first, then it'd have to break away the middle section, then the base itself. So in terms of the collapse area, it's much smaller in
Right.
terms of its
Yeah.
distance.
So I mean,
Much
and we're
safer.
talking a catastrophic failure in that case. I mean,
Yeah.
very rare, but you have to plan for these eventualities. So I'll just list the 9 factors of the Monroe balancing test. I'll leave it to the applicant if you guys choose to have a public hearing, because they'll really go through how they meet everything. But that is appendix, I think it's appendix in the VHB document. I think it's appendix H or I.
It's page 5 in the staff report, if that's
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah, so the nature and scope of the instrumentality seeking immunity is number 1. So it's
Appendix I.
Appendix I. The encroaching government's legislative grant of authority, the kind of land use or function involved, the effect of local land use regulation would have upon the enterprise concerned, alternative locations for this facility in less restrictive zoning use areas, the impact upon legitimate local interests, alternative methods of providing the proposed improvement, the extent of the public interest to be served by the improvements, and then the last one, intergovernmental participation in the project development process and opportunity to be heard. So it's a pretty robust test that they'll have to establish to the town board, and the town board will need to make an informed decision what extent to, if they choose to exclude them from the zoning regulations.
Is the Monroe hearing required by us? Like, must we have it?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's why I'm
When you
saying.
say if you choose to have it.
No,
That's
not
a
to,
public
not-
hearing.
no, not to choose to have the hearing, to choose to what if, you'd have to decide today if you're gonna have a public hearing to entertain
Right.
this. I don't wanna preempt
Yes.
that you're gonna decide to have a public hearing, because you would have to do it if you choose to act on the project. The decision will be to what extent you're gonna exempt, if at all. So you can do full exemption, you can do a partial exemption, or you can do no exemption, and then obviously the project wouldn't happen.
Maybe I wasn't clear, but this is why I'm saying maybe we need a change in the zoning code, so we don't have to go through this.
Yeah.
When it, in a situation like this, which we may not have another one right now, but
Correct.
if it's an emergency situation, given what you heard from the councilwoman and my own experience in that firehouse, I just thought, how do these people communicate? So,
I think it's an important consideration, and I have no objection to that, but I think for
I understand where
this
we are.
instance, where
Yeah,
we are,
I
this is
guess.
the appropriate.
I mean, right now, the applicants are only even being considered for the Monroe balancing test because they're a fire district, which is a political subdivision of the state of New York. That government portion of the application is the whole reason why they're allowed to even get to the Monroe balancing
I
test.
get it.
So
Yes.
let me just turn the conversation more. This is not about putting a cell tower up in Wading River because we want better cell phone service, because residents are having. This is about, I'll switch my hat as a member of the Wading River Fire Department. Okay, I'm working the radios, we're going into structures, we're going to housing. Our radios simply don't work.
Yeah.
We should have an active structure fire, and we are sending our men and women into these homes to retrieve people, to save life and property. We need communication. The chief of the department needs to stand outside and have constant communication towards where his teams are and how they're moving about, and placement of victims, removing victims, and so forth. This is about an emergency conversation, to saying that I'll change my hat again and say, my children are in the fire department as well. And I want to know when they go into a burning structure that I have constant communication with them. That's what this is ultimately about. And it's the same aspect within our police department. Unit 604 goes down into the hole, we always say, going down by the firehouse and the churches. They lose communication. So these bands are about setting up fire radios, police radios, all emergency responses. The ambulance can communicate. That's what this is about now. You say there's a cost to this, so we can build it. To alleviate, I think the Fire District Commission is doing their best job to help alleviate the cost to the taxpayers. Well, then, within the same pole, they can add cell phone units. That ends up benefiting everybody, and then residents are happy that now, I can tell you that on a daily basis, I'm parked up off of 25A, and I have to, on my Bluetooth, I gotta stop all driving and everything, because once I go down that hole, I lose the conversation, is over with. So there's a benefit in terms of all residents just having better cell phone service, and the money that's received that helps pay for this project. But that is not the reason of this project. From my standpoint, being in the fire department, the reason for this is to have continuing emergency communications at all times. We have school programs in St. John the Baptist Church, so you have children in there. You can't have your police outside struggling with any type of situation that may be going inside and not having constant radio communications. It was the biggest downfall.
Yeah.
What we had.
If I could add on to what you're saying, I agree with you 100%. Our primary purpose is for fire department communications. Excuse me, I'm losing my
Just
voice.
just introduce yourself for the record.
Terry Culhane, I'm a commissioner on the Board of Fire Commissioners for Wading River. Yes, that is the primary reason, our emergency communications with our first responders in the community. In addition to radio communication, the cell communication is pivotal because a lot of our medical equipment to shoot or to transmit telemetry to the hospitals is now subverted because we have no coverage. For example, someone that's having a heart attack, we have to drive 3 blocks with the patient to just send that EKG to the hospital for a doctor to look at. The third piece is, yes, it is about cell phones. How many of us in this town use our cell phones as your primary communication device at home? Nobody has landlines, very few do. So that is also an emergency issue because nobody can call 911.
Right.
Correct.
Denise, you had the problem up at you had one in the firehouse, and you had a member of the fire department actually fall down the staircase, crack his skull open, and he couldn't get help. He had to run back into the building to get somebody to help him.
That's what I was gonna bring up, that a lot of people don't use landline phones anymore.
Correctly.
So this also affects their ability to contact the police, not just the fire department.
And this will also help with the new radio systems because, you're gonna need antenna sites. So it's not just about cell phones, it is about emergency response. But cell phones do play a part in that, Our medical equipment depends on it, and the community depends on being able to reach a first responder.
I'm just sorry that the process is gonna take so
Right.
long. For me,
Understood.
Actually, this will be if the board chooses to find them immune from zoning, it's a much quicker process than.
well, when can we do that, today?
You'd have to have a public hearing first, and then you'd need to make a
Well,
determination.
have to
to
go
me,
through the-
this is I'm gonna tell you right now, look at the liability
Yeah,
Yeah.
the state.
in general, right? So, to me, I would have the public, we have to,
You
has
have
to
to
be
have
certain
a
amount of
public
days.
hearing,
Something
We
like
can
this,
schedule it as soon as
resolution?
possible.
yeah, something like this happens again, let's schedule a public hearing like way before you even get to hear it, because I did review this, and I can tell you, I responded right away. This is great, we need this, and that was, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So,
Look at all the time that's passed already.
and that's my thing, look at the time that's passed, and I
And
understand.
our concern is, do we have to wait for someone to die?
No, I get,
We're totally
It's
there.
about it affects response time. So very often within the fire department, we get dispatched by FRES, and sometimes a call is not properly communicated through dispatch, meaning that if it's just simply what they call a BLS call type thing, and then all of a sudden the officer most recently arrives on scene and then finds somebody in full cardiac arrest, or if it's simply a automatic alarm and the chief arrives on scene and thinks that, okay, this is going to be a standard false alarm, and the chief arrives on scene, opens the door, and it's full of smoke and fire. It's about now the chief is in a bad spot and trying to access and to request additional personnel to get to that scene, to dispatch. the chief has removed himself from a communication power. And so like with this, that kills the response time. Now the chief is trying to get somebody else, literally as the commissioner spoke, to drive up a hill to make communications go and send more help. It's bigger than I thought. The problem is more
Absolutely.
severe than I thought.
And we know
We're
that
delaying.
minutes save lives.
And 5 to 7 minutes is all we got on a cardiac arrest. And after that, it's not, and that's the time. It takes longer than that to go outside the area to gain help. It's about life and safety.
Yeah, so if I can just go through the rest of this, I think we cover
I
a
think
lot
it's
of your
pretty
questions.
clear that
It's very clear,
all
so I'm gonna
5
go through
members
some.
support
Yeah.
this, so.
I'm just gonna go through some of the need, just so the public understands how we got here, and then
Okay.
I think we have what I think is full board support. All right, so in terms of the need for the tower, like everyone said, you guys are ahead of the game, right in the report. So what's gonna happen here is this allows full communication with the district, as Councilman Rothwell had said. So the existing equipment that's on top of the water tower on Gerald Street, so that's the in-between, that's the conduit between the radios that'll be on this tower to Station 2. So that'll allow your full communication. That's the number one important factor. Revenue for the fire district, which we touched on, and then offer communications for other towns and agencies. So the town has an opportunity to put, their police antennas on top, or the state, whoever, would want to co-locate there. And to what the commissioner had said, there's a service efficiency in Verizon wireless coverage area in Wading River. We have a whole RF report which says why there's not good coverage. 71% of adults live in a wireless-only household. 240 million calls are made to 911 in the U.S., with 80% or more via wireless devices. So that's really the important factor here. In terms of visual impacts, the applicant has done a visual impact analysis. That's through a view shed analysis, so that's with LiDAR. It creates a model where it could be seen, because visual impacts that's like the number one concern typically with cell towers.
Unless you're
And that
dying
was-
and you need emergency services. Okay.
And then they did that with a crane on site.
Yeah, so
And it was like, it's not even visible really from
Yeah.
25A at that point. The firehouse in itself is a large structure which sits in front of it, so even as you're traveling down North Wading River Road and coming up Old Country Road, you're really, it's not that viewable,
No,
like you
it's
really
not.
gotta be looking for it.
Yeah, so
it's
the-
not a visual impairment within the community.
the model predicted that you'd be able to see it on the northwest and southwest portion of North Country Road, to the east along North Wading River Road, and then you'd be able to see it around the Duck Ponds and from Creek Road. They then did a 1 mile visibility study, which Councilman, that's the flag test on top of the crane, which was completely in line with what the model predicted, with some additional very minor visualization of it on Broadview Circle, Cambridge Court, Overlook Drive, Remsen Road, Dogwood Drive, and Zophyr Mills Road, and Randall Road. So you can see it very small. They also did photographic simulations, so that's actually what you see at the end of the report. They do it's a picture superimposed of what the tower will be and how it'll view. So if you see the images from Creek Road, it's about that big from the top of a tree.
And sorry, when you did that test, you gave a lot of residents false hope because they thought the tower was going in that day. They're like, it's coming, it's here. And
Yeah.
just a test.
So in terms of alternatives, the code does require you to consider alternatives. So the main alternative to a cell tower is what's called an ODAS system, outdoor distributed antenna system. So that's like your net of cell antennas on a smaller cell, microcell. So they do it in steeples, on telephone poles. It's just for this. The tower antennas are mounted at a higher level than would transmit above trees and buildings, just because of the topography, that system wouldn't work as well to allow full connectivity.
There's a lot of hills and trees in
A
that
lot of hills
area.
and trees in the area. So the tower allows you to do that full permeation, allows in-service coverage, and the ODAS system in this case could really only supplement, it couldn't really be in place of the tower. We also have to look at alternative sites. So they looked at St. John the Baptist Church, the Rock, the golf club, and then Shops at East Wind, where, the property owners were just not interested in doing it. So it finds that the report for alternatives, that the least intrusive means to resolve the deficiency in the fire district's communication issue is the tower, adequate and reliable network coverage for Verizon Wireless and Fire District in the subject area, and the ability to accommodate the additional wireless carriers. So it's going to be Verizon that's coming in, but there is space to co-locate, which we require by code.
And those other parcels are significantly higher in height
Correct.
compared to where the firehouse sits
Correct.
literally at the low point,
Yep.
along with.
Yep, so this is a case of, balancing public need, which I think everyone understands.
I just want to add one other thing. One issue that you touched on was revenue.
Yeah,
I don't want anybody to think that the fire district is getting rich.
no, it's just offsets costs.
Not only, it just, you have in your own budget the amount of money you got to spend on radios. We have to do the same thing in the fire district. So we're always trying to keep our tax levy down as low as possible. So that's where that money is going toward, radio equipment, constantly staying up to date. So, I don't want the public to think like, oh, they're doing this as a money grab.
Yes.
That is far from it's very, very small amount of money.
Yep. All right, so it sounds like everybody's in support, so I'm going to prepare two resolutions. One's to classify it as a type 1 action, so we'll initiate that 30-day coordination period. And then a second to publish and post for the Monroe hearing, and then as soon as that hearing is closed, the town board is able to make a decision.
So we can't get it in Thursday's paper, right? Like for next week or?
Your meeting's on Tuesday? You could.
October 1st.
Yeah, October 1st.
Yeah, so just to do the publish and post or whatever, because is the hearing going to be required to be in the evening?
I don't think it's
Or can we do
controversial
it
enough to
the
make it an
the-
evening one.
That's at your discretion.
I think I personally would request the first available town
And
board
we
meeting to
greatly-
move the
I
budget
agree.
forward.
We
I
greatly
agree with that,
appreciate
too.
that. I just want to say, I'm Greg Alvarez, attorney for Elite Towers. The only thing I would say to that is, as we've talked about, we have to hit all of those 9 points, and we do have some of the folks here. We do have other folks as well, and so we've already vetted out those other dates that are beyond next week. So that would be the only reason to perhaps ask for one of those other dates, just to make sure, because we want to make sure all of our team members are here to hit each of those points. And obviously, it's up to your discretion in terms of
We
how
will
much you
do
want
it
to
at
hear.
the
but-
soonest available time
Okay.
by law. I mean, we have
Of
so
course.
many days we
Right.
have to publish and post and notify. So we'll make it as long as you guys are ready with everything that you have to do, we'll do it. Just be in touch with us or with Matt and let
Yep.
them know, and
Yes, we've
we'll
already
do it as
vetted with
soon as
Matt
we can.
the dates after that, so I believe
Okay.
the date after that was the 16th, I believe.
Yes,
We would be more than ready for that date.
okay.
There's just no way to predict when the next structure fire is. We just had a very serious structure fire. We had a house that was just basically almost across the street from the firehouse next to the cemetery, and radio communications were in fact a problem. And so we want to eliminate this issue, the safety
And,
concerns.
and we never want to turn down the opportunity to come in sooner rather than later, so.
So
I just wanted to let you know.
expeditiously as you
in
can do
terms-
it, we
of
welcome.
course. Yep, yes.
And we thank the board for that.
Yes,
On
much
behalf of the fire
appreciated.
department and
This
fire
is,
district.
this is insane. Police and fire have no communication.
It is.
Is ridiculous. This is like, 1400s. You gotta run down with a bucket.
And we don't have sidewalks to bang our nightsticks on.
Old school, old school.
All right.
Careful, Terry, you're dating yourself.
So again, if next week works better, just to understand that perhaps we won't have all of our team members,
That's
but
fine.
certainly we
Yeah.
have our.
Well,
Absolutely.
so what'll happen on Tuesdays, there'll be a publish and post resolution, so that'll be to schedule, and it'll be to schedule on the 16th, so that would be when the hearing was.
Okay,
Okay, very good.
very good.
Appreciate
You can
it.
make a decision shortly thereafter.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And for the public, we have 3 Wading River Fire Commissioners here
Yes.
today. I thank you
We
guys
do.
for your
Can I
service.
say one thing, Mr.
Yes, come on up.
Tim Devaney, Commissioner for many years, Wading River.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
use the,
come
here,
on,
you can
come
even
on.
sit
Or you can go to the
or
podium.
use the
Just
podium.
a quick thing. Tim Devaney with the Wading River Fire District for a number of years. Back in 2007, we worked on putting a cell tower up. I forget the company's name out in Southampton. We moved along, did soil compactions, did this and did that. There was a couple of board members at the time that really weren't in favor of it because we were afraid of the public, okay? And I get it, it's tough to, I don't want to say push over the public, but this is a serious situation, as we all know,
Absolutely.
okay? And I'm glad everybody's on board because 2024, almost 25, we did this back in '07. I went in for quintuple bypass in the beginning of '08. I come back in my next meeting at the firehouse, and they put it to bed. They stopped everything. I'm like, why? Why'd you do this? This is an important feature that we need, for our members, like we just discussed here.
Right.
So I just want to say, here we are, 17 years later, whatever, and we're trying to attack
Still
it
talking
now.
about it, yeah.
You know, so that's all I want to say.
I'll just add to that, that the difference is now many, many more people do not have landline phones.
Correct.
Right.
So
It's really changed in the
yes.
last 20 years.
Yeah, but they're
That's the
just
difference.
afraid of the public being, oh, you know, well, I mean, I got voted in again because I put a cell tower up in our fire district, you know, but,
From a,
you know.
from a planning perspective, this makes sense. So, you know, in times past, over the past 20 years, cell towers, I feel like the controversy has really changed since most people use them now. They were very controversial when they first came in. So, I mean, it's important that we locate them. We just want to locate them in the correct places. This is a shining example of a place where it makes sense.
Right, I think back then, I think they didn't fall, like we talked about.
Correct,
the new construction. The whole structure fell over onto the church.
You typically didn't have as many
We did the fall zone
monopoles.
thing and everything like that. The newer technology now,
Right.
they fall within themselves.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Well, the safety of the residents and the safety of the first responders are the most important thing for this.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
That's all.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your
Thank you,
time
guys.
and everything else.
Thanks, everybody.
Sorry it took,
Appreciate it.
took so long.
No, that's
I will get all that into Minitrack and it'll be in your packet.
Great.
Good.
Thank you very
You know,
much.
have
Awesome.
the police chief come as well.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. It's a good idea.
It's a lot of paper for one tower.
That's how these tend to go, yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
guys. Thank you, guys.
You too. Thank you.
I'd call you, but I can't.
Okay, that concludes our open session. We're now going to move on to resolutions. And Devin, if you would please come up and read off the resolutions.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
If everybody's ready to go, we'll get started. Resolution number 1 authorizes the removal of fixed assets. Number 2, Police Department accepts donation of 2 motorcycles from Suffolk County. Baker and Poncherello are coming to town.
I just want to thank Ken Rothwell for his work with the Suffolk County Executive's Office in making this happen. They have donated 2 Harley-Davidson motorcycles, 2020s. They're used from their fleet, but when they turn them in, they're in really good shape, and then they buy new ones. And Ken set this up and got the county to donate them, so we're going to have 2 nice Harley-Davidsons
Yeah, it's
coming up. And our officers have been trained. They went
Yes, so,
to
yep, we already
the
put-
academy and got their training already for
Yep.
them, so.
Exactly, so we've already got officers trained, we've got them outfitted with uniforms and so forth, leather jackets, helmets when necessary.
Britches.
I got, yeah, boots. I just also want to personally and publicly thank, and we'll have that opportunity, you know, once we get these motorcycles striped and so forth with our logos on it, and but I got to personally thank County Executive Ed Romaine. Right from the get-go, he has wanted to build a relationship between the Suffolk County Police Department and the Riverhead Police Department, and it's always been a great relationship, but just like this is personal. And so we have not had motorcycle units in a long time. We had 1 bike that's way aged out, and it's not safe and not usable. So, and I commend our officers for stepping forward and taking a training. They all said they had one of the greatest times. They actually went through the academy with Nassau County Police Department, and they were traveling all around New York City and going up Westchester over bridges. Like, they had an incredible time, but like I feel that they returned experts in motorcycle safety, so I'm confident. But this is a great community outreach program. It's a great policing program. It's much easier to position a bike somewhere as opposed to police cars, and I'm excited about it. And I just think it's also going to be a great public perception for us in our parades, our communications, our COPE units, and so forth, and having these available, similar to our K9 units. So our police department continuously steps up and offers its volunteers to participate. Thank you, County Executive Ed Romaine, and thank you for mentioning it, Supervisor.
They also teach you in this class, in the training, how to lay the bike down. Should you feel the need you're going to crash, they teach you how to safely lay it down, and they make them do that, which is pretty incredible.
Yep, but not our bikes, we're not scratching.
No,
our
no, no,
bikes,
no,
our
no, no.
company.
But they do have protection on them for that. They have
Yes, they
a
do.
roll bar system on them that allows them to do that. So-
Does the supervisor get to ride that motorcycle?
No, the
I wanna see
supervisor
you lay
will
that
watch. Supervisor is not a fan of motorcycles. I like a lot of metal around me when I'm driving down the road. And kudos to the guys that do it, but they're
I will
brave
take
souls.
my Harley out and go for a ride with them, so absolutely, yes.
Okay, resolution number 3, authorization for one police department employee to attend a training course.
Okay.
Number 4, authorization for one police department employee to attend a training course, a different one. This one is the drug recognition expert.
Yeah, this teaches them how to tell if you're high on drugs as opposed to high on alcohol. So
We're only sending one, or they're,
it's a very lengthy and involved class.
really?
Yes.
Wow.
I think that particular officer, though, could be called in at any given time, too, as
Correct.
well.
They use that. We have one now, and this will be a second one we can use.
Resolution number 5 appoints a call-in recreation aide 2 to the Recreation Department. Number 6, same thing, appoints a call-in recreation aide 2 to the Recreation Department. Resolution number 7 amends a portion of Resolution 2024-459 adopted on May 22nd, 2024
We couldn't have called you anyway, Terry, so.
to correct the salary of a seasonal recreational aide. Number 8 appoints a Fire Marshal 1. Number 9 ratifies the appointment of a water treatment plant operator 2B. Number 10 approves salary adjustments for named highway employees. Number 11 promotes an employee to a highway labor crew leader. Number 12 promotes an employee to construction equipment operator. Number 13 promotes an employee to construction equipment operator. Number 14 promotes an employee to heavy equipment operator.
All these go hand in hand with the first one you read about the salary increases for the highway workers.
Number 15 promotes an employee to construction equipment operator. Number 16 promotes an employee to heavy equipment operator. Number 17 authorizes the town clerk to republish and post notice to bidders for one 2024 Mack model MD642 dump truck for Riverhead Water District. We're going to repost the bids and hopefully get more responses from that. Number 18 ratifies authorization for Goodman Marks Associates, Inc. to conduct an appraisal of town property. Number 19, authorize the supervisor to execute license agreement with the Butterfly Effect Project for use of the Riverhead Senior Center. Number 20, approves the final version of the CSCA 2023 through 2025 contract.
About time.
Number 21, approves the United States Department of the Interior Fish and Wildlife Service access for hi-fi water level logging equipment at Wading River Boat Ramp. Number 22, grants preliminary approval for the site plan application entitled Hildreth Real Estate Advisors, Calverton, 1001 Scott Avenue, Calverton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-135.1-1-1. Resolution number 23 authorizes town clerk to publish and post public notice to consider a local law to amend Chapter 237, Section 4 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Permit Procedures. The board will recall we talked about this at the last work session. We're going to raise the road opening permit fee from $200 to $300. Oops. Number 24, authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to consider a local law to amend Chapter 269, Section 5 of the Riverhead Town Code, entitled Removal and Return of Abandoned Carts. And this also is going to touch on a fee increase from $125 to $175. Number 25, adopts a local law to amend Chapter 263 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Rental Dwelling Units. Number 26, adopts a local law amending Chapter 289-6 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Turns. It's the no right turn off of Cromer onto 58.
Hate this one.
Number 27, pays the bills.
Bob doesn't like that resolution.
That right turn.
Oh, I thought it was pay the bills.
That's what I thought.
Oh, the pay the bills? Yeah,
Number 28, authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with American Cancer Society for special event. Number 29, Town Board promotes and appoints a police lieutenant, Danielle Wilsey, to captain of the Riverhead Police Department. Number 30, promotes a sergeant to the rank of lieutenant. Number 31, amends terms and conditions of employment for Police Chief Frost. Number 32, authorizes designated alcohol service vendors to serve alcohol at the Oktoberfest Festival. Number 33, reclassifies Ken Test as Assistant Town Engineer position number 08-1162-31 to Town Engineer. Number 34, amends terms and conditions of employment for Ken Testa, Town Engineer, and authorizes supervisor to execute an agreement.
That was a tough one to put together because he already does everything. So how do you just say does everything?
It was, yeah, it was, had to work with civil service. But they granted us the position of a second town engineer, which is
right.
rarely done.
Right.
And we really appreciate it because by separating them up, we can get a lot more done with the two groups.
Resolution number 35, authorizes the supervisor to execute a stipulation of settlement with Civil Service Employees Association, Inc., Local 1000, AFS CME, AFL-CIO, Riverhead Unit of the Suffolk Local 852.
What is that? Is that the, that's not that, what is that? What's that,
So we'll have the town attorney come up and chat with you folks about that.
thank you.
Good morning. So this resolution authorizes the supervisor to to execute a settlement agreement with the CSEA arising from a grievance that was filed last year with the PRB board. Yes.
What?
Okay.
The PERB
So,
board.
yeah, so a grievance was filed by the union, I believe it was last November, or December. We had a person in the sewer district who was leaving, and the sewer district wasn't going to have a clerical person for approximately 10 to 14 days. So we had that person doing some part-time work until another employee was transferred to take over that position. The CSEA filed a grievance over that. This simply settles it. The settlement agreement, in effect, says that the town doesn't waive its position that it did the right thing. CSEA doesn't waive its position that we should have had an agreement with them over at first, and it simply withdraws the case.
So
It's
we
essentially
agree to disagree?
it's yeah, more or less. All right,
Thanks, Eric.
no problem.
Okay, resolution number 36 ratifies the authorization for the supervisor to execute an MOA with CSCA Local 1000, AFS CME, AFL-CIO, Riverhead Unit of the Suffolk Local 852, Riverhead Town Police Benevolent Association, and Riverhead Town Superior Officers Association. And that's regarding the dental plan. And that's it.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm gonna say his name wrong.
Asari.
Asari for bringing that dental plan to the town. Better
And less expensive.
and less expensive.
Yep.
They worked hard on that, pounding my head to get it done.
Chewing my teeth. All right, that concludes our open session for today. In a moment, I'm going to ask to close it, and we'll go into executive session to discuss contractual matters surrounding contractual agreement with parking consultant. That will be with Thomas and DIPAOLA. Matters surrounding possible sale of real estate property, Thomas and Prudenti. matter sounding contractual agreement for website services, Kremborg, and matters surrounding agreement for electric car charges, Kern and Howard. So that being it for executive session, I'd like to make a motion that we close open session and go into executive session.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, open session is closed. We will now be heading into executive session. Everybody have a great weekend. I think this weekend Rivet has their homecoming football game and parade downtown, so be sure to stop out if you're available. It's always a good time to see the floats and cheer on the local home team.
And
Have a
wait,
great, what?
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And the Wading River Chamber of Commerce is also
Yes.
having a fall festival Sunday over at the East Wind Commons over there. It should be a great day.
And I
Perfect.
believe tonight is the last night for Riverhead Unites, the anti-bias task force.
What's today, the 29th? Yes, it is, right?
Yeah, where's the one tonight?
Through the weekend? Okay.
Is it?
I had till Friday, tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, it's going on,
Yeah, go to
the Chamber of Commerce.
rivetchamber.com, and it'll have the schedule of who has what, where, and when. Great opportunity. So, enjoy, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you.